guys. This is the new project. So we're going to be restoring this one. Right now it's a runner, but the exciter at the bottom end is stuck on it. So we're going to get it out of the truck, start her up, see how it goes. You can see down here how paper thin it is. This one's an 06 DPU 6055. And this one that we just finished is a DPU 5545. So we're going to try to fix it up and make it brand new again. All right. Hey guys, so we got all the 19mm bolts out of the base plate. These ones right here. And we're just going to lift off the base. We've taken it off a little bit already just to get the 19mm banjo bolt, and then you cap it off so you don't get oil everywhere. We're going to just take everything off at once, the whole assembly, and then we're going to land it over here, just so that we can get to the exciter and see what's going on. Okay. Alright guys, got this back in the garage, all cleaned up. I'm just going to split the exciter now. You can see made some notes about what's been done in the past. Lower pulley, shaft seal, case, flange, seal, eccentric bearings ×4, 2015. So it's 2022 right now, so they're 4 or 5 years old. I've also noticed it's quite a bit worn down under this, almost like not nearly as much steel as there originally was. You can see it worse on that side. Look how much, it's pretty thin there now. I've got a sheet of 3/16 I might just put underneath the whole thing and weld it on, because it's probably lost that much steel. All right, let's take her apart. just cleaning up the M16 by 2 mil thread on either side. They're only in the center position. And that's so you can put in a jacking bolt. It's a special tool that I made for doing the job. Should be on the last video for the DPU 5545. Alright guys, so I got it separated, and this one turns freely, and it also turns this one. It turns basically the timing amount. It'll turn like quarter turn, but the unit itself doesn't move at all. So I'd say the bearings are seized on this one. If we're doing 2 of them, we're going to do all 4. Just in case it got contaminated or whatever. The oil looks pretty nasty. You don't want to be screwed later on. Could be the fact they had too much RTV in there. Hard to say. It's pretty nasty and it looks a little over full. Oh. We got pieces. Got chunkies. Kind of looks like a gear or something. Uh-oh. Oh, bearing pieces. Oh, yeah. Lovely. It didn't sit right, and the spring was sitting on the outside here. So it wasn't sealing properly, allowed water to get in. Water got in there. And eventually it made it to this side, and just the bearings are done. So that's why this shaft is seized. I also noticed some damage with the little hydraulic coupler here. So it's actually like this shaft got quite hot. Started to rub on this. I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem yet for reassembly. And then I also noticed that the seal here, I don't know when they were pushing it back on if they damaged it or what, but yeah, that's definitely the reason it failed, because these bearings should last a long time, even with not replacing the oil that often, you know. That, and they use RTV, but they use RTV from the factory, which seems kind of weird for a mated surface like that. You should be using like a case mating compound, like just an anaerobic sealer. All right, so we're gonna finish disassembling this, make sure we got the bearing numbers that are correct. I believe it's a 2210 EC. It's a SKF number. I just have to verify if it's an NJ or an NU and go from there. So there we go. Hey guys, we're getting everything cleaned up. Got the pulley cleaned up a little bit. It was pretty bad before. Well, it's still not the best in a couple spots, but this pulley is going to be engaged all the time. It's not going to be slipping too much. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I could weld it up and and really fix it, but I don't know if I want to invest the time. I did grind this down. I took 40 thou off. So I took 30 thou off each side of this shaft. This is where the oil seal rides. And then I welded it, and then I built it back up again. And the surface finish is really good right now. It's with a 400 grit, and then I used a little bit of a higher grit 600 afterwards, and it's almost mirror finish, so I think we're pretty good for the oil seal to ride on there. And it's back to spec. It's a 48 mil seal on that outside diameter there, and which is 1.890 the shaft size. I guess that's how they set seals up, as it's based on the shaft size. So I want to say it's going to be a 3 or 4 thou interference fit, that oil seal going over top. I cleaned up all the eccentrics, they're pretty rusty. I cleaned up this shaft and actually replaced the key in it. So there's a key down there, so I made a bigger key because it was really sloppy and worn out. And then I also honed the inside of this. This is for the hydraulic unit. It was pretty worn, so I gave it a little hone. Yeah, I'm just working on one of the plates, actually, that mounts it to the compactor. So I've got this cleaned up quite a bit, and I've just got one of the rubber mounts off where it connects. The rest of these are in good shape, except for this one. This one had one that's kind of oblonged a little bit, and this one was worn right out. Similar to like a helicoil or a key cert, but I oversized it to a 20 by 2.5, just because it was so worn out. And then I made a little plug. So we're gonna clean it all up with some brake clean and set it up with red Loctite, so it should never come out, and it'll be nice and flush. Not sure what I'm gonna do about this other one yet, but yeah. Hey guys, so we're getting ready to reskin this. So it's getting pretty thin in spots. It's an 06, so it's had quite a bit of use. And we just cut out some holes, and we're going to plug weld it. I think we're just going to get one side tacked on and then bend it over the machine. We'll see how it goes though. Okay. Hey guys, just about done welding this extension onto the plate. You can see it's 3/16 material. It's been a ton of work to actually add some material to this. And this is the machine is an 06, so it has quite a bit of wear in the plate. So we actually bent it around, put a couple fingers, slices in it, bent it down.
Yeah, so it turns out it's not 3/16, it's actually 1/4 inch.
Couple slices, bend it down. Still didn't want to bend down. Put a couple slices all the way down. Still didn't want to move.
Torch and just
use some heat on it. Still didn't want to move. Didn't want to bend around that corner, and I want it to be a nice sweeping motion there. So what I ended up doing was making a little tool and welding it onto the plate, and then using a screw. Welded it on here and used the screw to push down. The welds aren't the best, but yeah, you can see where I've welded it on and then took the bracket off. Yeah, getting there, filling in a couple holes. This was actually like paper thin. Busted through in a couple spots. Another thing, this bushing was actually starting to separate a little bit, and there's a little trick for that. Clean it out really well with brake clean or anything like that, and then put in super glue. And then I actually squeezed it together with a clamp for about an hour, and it should be like brand new. Same with O-ring seals and anything like that rubberized. You can actually do quite a few repairs with super glue. Still got to turn it over and do the other side, but yeah, I think it's kind of an upgrade for the machine. So I might just get some stickers for the bigger machine. They stopped making the 6055 in the probably around 2010, and then they jumped to the 65 55. So I might get some DPU 6555 stickers for it, just because I think the only difference is the weight. Engine side's the same, the centrics are all the same with the 5545 as well, so I don't see what else other than the weight it's going to be the difference. It's the same, might be slightly wider. That's about it. Alright, see you soon. I'm still working on the body of this machine. It was quite worn out, so filling in all the extra holes, and then I ended up tapping these to an M14 instead of welding them up and re-drilling them. That way I made sure I was still in the same spot. At the bottom I didn't have to do anything. This side I had to weld up a couple of the holes, and I still have some more grinding to do down here. The holes have been so oblonged out. Other than that, we're just giving it a good clean. You can see over here, I had to totally redo those two holes, welded them up, and then re-drilled them to match over here. That one and that one with a M16, just drilled them out and then put in little time certs. I just made the time certs myself on the lathe. So bring them back to an M12. And I did that on my lathe. It's a Web, I think it's a 15 by 40. Got a number on here, but it's been great. Great to have. I've got a lot of use out of it already. Looks like it is a Web 75 1983, made in Korea. Yeah, and I've already done the put new belt and oil in it and the VFD, and then a digital readout in August. And then before I got it, it had a new motor. So it doesn't have any metric change gears yet, but we're going to be doing that pretty soon. I've got the gears on order the cutters on order to cut some new gears, and then yeah, we'll see where we end up. I also made some new arbors for the chucks. Got a couple of chucks there, Jacobs chucks, the ball bearing style, really nice. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys want more information on this or a couple of videos, but I'll be able to do that. So we've got the bushings out on this DPU 6055, and you can see how worn out they are. So when you're actually holding the handle, it moves like 6 inches. So what I decided to do, the shaft's a little worn. It's probably 10 or 20 thou thinner here than it is out here, probably just from all the wear on the inside, tilting back and forth. So what we've done is made a little sleeve. I just used some steel I had sitting around. It's just a mild steel. Made a bush. This is going to go over the machine. And then I put a little collar on it as well, so it doesn't wear the bush out. On the side, and you'll have a little thrust plate on it, and it gets clamped down like that. Alright, we're on to the reassembly of the exciter for this DPU 6055. Repainted inside because it was quite worn away. I just gave it a single coat of single stage with a brush. I didn't want a bunch of overspray everywhere. That's why it looks a little off color, but it's really strong. It's going to be good. Cleaned out all the bores, cleaned out all the holes, chased the threads, got all the new bearings in that we had ordered. And now we're going to start on the reassembly process. Got the new bearings in. 2 bearings go in here, and then there's a bolt that holds the bearings on. One of the bearings was seized when I got it. So what I did was I got new bearings on order, cleaned up the bore, put some grease in the back here because these are supposed to be like a shielded bearing, so I don't know if they're supposed to be lubricated by the gear oil, but they obviously weren't getting any oil to the back. So I filled it full of grease, took out 3 of the seals. There's 2 bearing sets here. So I took out 1 rubber seal and 1 rubber seal in the middle, and then the back rubber seal on this front one here. And then filled it full of grease so that it should run for a long time. I got a new seal because this one was torn. This is actually the plunger. It goes inside here, and this controls whether it's going to be going forward or reverse based on the handle. And it's all hydraulic. So this is going to go like that. And then its shaft, this little spline shaft that goes on here. And then this goes on outside of here, move forward or backwards. And that's going to give you that forward thrust or reverse thrust. This shaft wasn't in the best shape, and I've had to do some work on this end because the bearings were pretty poor. So this one is going back together. Got everything cleaned up, new bearings installed. Right now the bearings, I had to heat up the case to get them in. And I left them just pretty close to being flush, and then when I put the caps on, it'll set them to the desired depth they're required, because you want a little bit of play back and forth on these shafts. When they're going to grow when they get hot. And I cleaned up the gearing here. There was a little spot where water had been sitting in it. Cleaned them up as best I could. I don't have the manual for this for timing it, but I set it up based on my old photos, and I can show you. And put some lube in there. Also put a little bit of 680 retaining compound on this outer bearing, just because it was a slip fit, but you can tell that it had been turning in the past. I don't want the race turning inside there. You can tell there's some metal, some wear on this circlip and snap ring. So I'm trying to eliminate that in the future. Yeah. And that's all for now.